I personally believe philosophically life is a series of events. And you have to enjoy, relish, cherish every event which comes in. Some events will be very heart pleasing and some events will be not so great. But I think the fun is uh, having all kind of events. So if you look at my life, like we grew at 30%. Life was unbelievably. It was up only. So the lower side was much lower.
This is like a tough question. I don't know if I should even ask it or not. But in that 30% growth cycle, let's assume 2 or 3 things went wrong, right? Like, what do you think? I believe that in life there are 2 buckets of things. One you can control, another you can't control. For what you can't control, there's no point like breaking your head over it. Just as advice to us who are like entrepreneurs or budding ones and people around, what do you think went wrong? What caused it? And if you had to do it over again, what might you change?
So I think as a personality, I'm a little impulsive person. So what went wrong is basically growing on debt and not building a strong balance sheet. So that is one thing which was apparent. Third, I then my daughter just started studying Shakespeare. So other day, some 10 days back, she came out of the class and she called me up. I had one of my best day of my life. I studied a concept of storytelling called the tragic flaw. So every character which Shakespeare built had a flaw in that, and he used to highlight that flaw and that character. Then I started looking at Ramayana, Mahabharata, and everybody had a flaw, but flaw in India was never highlighted as much. We were taught that everybody is perfect. So everybody has a fatal flaw. I converted this tragic flaw into a fatal flaw. And I started analyzing my fatal flaw. And I was able to discover a lot. So, and everybody has that flaw. And I believe every entrepreneur has some flaw, uh, which I think which should be taught. And if somebody can work on it, they'll make less number of mistakes and will be more successful. Yeah. So I've gone through flaws and flaws and flaws.
So
how do we discover that fatal flaw for us?
Psychology says this. Like, if you go through Jung, Freud, Adler, like much after Shakespeare's time, obviously, but we are all flawed, right? We're all insecure. We're all not altruistic, like we might like to believe at some level, or we might like to portray. There is one true us. There is one persona of us which we have created in our own mind, which we believe is not flawed. That persona. And we spend so much time and effort defending that persona and denying our flaw that it makes life more complicated, even for us and for people around us. So different people call it different thing. I think people like Jung and Adler call it our shadow. Uh, it is driven by many things, like your childhood has such a big impact on it. Like what you did between ages 3, 4 to 8, 9 will have so much to do with what your shadow is today. The financial condition of your parents, the relationship between your mother and father, your relationship with your siblings, and also innately how you're born as a person. So every psychology book kind of tells you that recognize your flaws. They in fact help you out by doing some categorization. They say this could be a certain kind of person, that could be a certain kind of person.
But Nikhil, this should be taught to entrepreneurs. And you can find I have a very simple philosophy of life that music has 7 tones. There are 5 primary colors and there are 9 recorded emotions of human being. Life is not so complex. So if you look at the flaws of entrepreneurs, I think it can be defined very well. And there are people like me or many people like us who have made a lot of mistakes. And how can it be recorded and taught?
Especially for entrepreneurs, हमारा और एक problem ये है कि we all have gotten lucky in the cycle of life. See, we're all sitting here outside of because we've gotten very lucky, right? I mean, Vidit is brilliant, Sujit is brilliant, you're brilliant, but at some level, luck has played a disproportionate part of how we arrived to be where we are today. But the problem, especially in startup crowds, is because somebody goes from A to Z in 2 years, in 3 years, in 5 years, in 6 years, you don't start to take yourself so seriously, but the scale of everything you're saying and doing is so much bigger that what you were saying and doing 5 years ago today will be looked at through a completely different lens. So even for that reason, I think what he said is so true, that we need to, like, I know introspecting is the hardest thing in life maybe, but
And that's what I was going to ask. Like, how do you find these fatal flaws? I'm sure like you now have some ways.
After destruction, you can easily find it. Yeah. Secondly, you're open to it. I think we always created an organization which allowed dissent. So that was not the challenge. And secondly, we never kept along ourselves our echo chambers. Never in our life. So everybody knows your weakness. Everybody who's around you will know your weakness.
You should ask
They
them.
know how to. No, they will never tell you your weakness ever.
Yeah. But
So how do we get it out then?
खुद को introspection
I
करना
think the
पड़ेगा.
first thing to do is normalize having flaws. The problem with
Yes.
social media and anonymity, what it has done is people go out there and say about everybody. Like, one should not care, but in many cases you find yourself caring. But until we come to terms with the fact that you are flawed, Sujit is flawed, he's flawed, I am flawed, until we realize that we each are, and then we realize that we all are, I think people will be scared and shy of coming out with their flaws.
Yeah, by the way, I have one disagreement, which is I believe most entrepreneurs are very paranoid also. So they believe something's going to go wrong at all points in time. कि वो क्या है? And that's why I feel like if you tell them there's something wrong, I can do this, and basically fixing this would mean something will grow, and then all of that happens. But I generally feel people are.
This is not what the
मेरे को लगती है कि एक चीज जो
People are paranoid.
He's talking not
Something
about
else.
paranoia. He's talking, I'll give you an example.
personality.
No, he was saying, I'm saying, even if people don't want to acknowledge they could have flaws, I believe that is not true. I believe most people are paranoid. They just have blind side that no one exposes them to.
I'll give you an example of a flaw.
I think just I wanted to add to that point when he was saying that there are people, and as an entrepreneur, what you do, I focus too much on work, your circle gets shrinked. And then you are get surrounded by those people. You can say that might be they know, but they never wanted to share. Having those circles where people can tell you, it's very hard. It's very, you can tell you, talk you frankly, or can give kind of feedback, some suggestion, and you should be open for that. Because if you give a reaction, those channel will going to close. I think those feedback channels are very important.
That's what.
But it's an investment. It's an investment. It automatically doesn't happen.
But every entrepreneur, I personally believe, can easily learn it. They are open to ideas and thoughts. So why not to this?
No, but sir, it's very hard when it's
hard.
Comes to talk about, hey, somebody, every magazine, every corner, family member, mother, father, everybody saying you are perfect. You are
Perfect कोई होता भी
नहीं, but उनको तो यही बोलते हैं ना. Suddenly एक बंदा बोल रहा है कि नहीं यार तेरा ना थोड़ा ये issue है. And your reaction control, that feedback will come again or not. If you give a different kind of reaction,
I think it's our education.
You are done talk.
But our education also, look at Rama. Rama is the perfect human being.
Yeah, that's true.
But he was also flawed. Na? It was all about righteousness or...
No, but कैसे जाना जाए? I think the question was कि how to control that.
People like, we have to go to... He understood the subject in 1 second. He added up 5 things more. There will be people like him who will... who can,
psychology is the best teacher. Like, I'll tell you personally, for me, right, in the last 3 years, I've stopped reading all books on finance, economy, which I used to spend time reading on growing up.
History and psychology.
I just do history and psychology. I keep telling him, like, it's incredible how you will start looking at yourself from a different lens. Because we all spend...
And mythology.
Totally, yeah.
I'm adding.
Yeah.
We took mythology as a subject, yeah.
Hi, I'm Nikhil. Thank you for watching the podcast. Let us know who your favorite guest has been and who you'd like to watch next. Thank you.